Topper in MBA entrance exams? Join BYJU'S Exam Prep, CAT and MBA YouTube channel and watch serial 99 percentilers teaching you the tips and tricks.
Hi everyone, very good morning. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Hi Gaurav, good morning. I hope all of you are doing really good today. My name is Alpa Sharma and this is our editorial analysis. I hope everything is clearly audible and visible to everyone. Good morning, good morning. Yes, clearly audible and visible. All right. So, what are we going to do in today's class? So, usually on Thursdays, I bring either an extract from a source where RCs can be formed from, or I bring an Aeon article, but today I'm not doing either of the things. Good morning, Disha. I'm absolutely good, Gaurav. I'm really good. I hope you're doing great as well. So I haven't brought articles from Aeon today. Neither have I brought articles from books and extracts. I brought a very old article. I was reading and going through and browsing through sources where articles could be framed from in CAT and various other MBA entrance examinations. And I stumbled upon a very old article, probably that was published in 2021. Okay. And, but I couldn't skip the article. It has so much to know about. It is revolving around so much of GK, so much of knowledge that you need to have for clearing any of the MBA entrance examinations, and so much to infer as well. So I just couldn't leave the article. The source of the, so we're going to be doing only one article today, and the source of the article is New York Times, but it's a pretty old article, and there are chances that you haven't read this article because it's an old one. Hi Prasad and hi Prads. Very good morning, Shania, you too as well. I'm absolutely good, everyone. I'm really happy that I brought this article. Now, the topic of the article is philosophy. And we're going to be talking a lot about it today because this article doesn't give you a specific philosophy. It talks about a cult of philosophy. So we're going to be talking about that in detail since a lot of you struggle with understanding philosophical. See, understanding science articles are not really difficult because we've studied that at least till our 10th. Understanding economy-based articles are also not very difficult because if you've been reading newspapers regularly, you'll get a hang of them. But this is something that most of you, I'm sure, have not studied. And these articles are one of the favorites of CAT, and that is why this article takes a place here. I have not brought the vocabulary separately, but this article is full of high frequency words on which questions can come. So I've highlighted all the words. We will be understanding the contextual meaning through the sentence. We'll discuss the tone, the summary, and many inferences from the lines that are given in the passage. Good morning, Anuj. All right, so before I start with the article, one little quick thing. These are our champions of CAT 2021, and I'm sure you also want to be here right in this page, and you have time. You have roughly 4 months, which you can put in your best effort in and make sure that you make it to your dream college. Work really hard. If you need our help, we have a comprehensive program which you can enroll for, but make sure that you read a lot because there's no escaping to that. This batch, where you have teachers who are serial 99 and 100 percentilers, don't look anywhere else. Just quickly enroll yourself. The details are there in the description box. Okay. Now, guys, I have this article, but I have something else for you as well today. What do I have for you? Hi, Pranit. Good morning. Okay, so what I was thinking about was, since I was going through so many articles, I was digging through so many websites to find an appropriate article to take for the class. And since I see you only twice a week, what about every time I see you, I give you a link of an article that I want you to read? Would you like me to do that? Because today I have a link here with me. So I'll be giving you, how does that sound? I'll be, apart from taking 1 or 2 articles every classes twice a week, I'll be giving you a link of an article that's probably longer, but it's a beautiful read. You have to read that, analyze the article and do some inference. Hi, good morning, Rohit. What do you think about that? Would you like to have that? That would be great. Okay. So towards the end of the class, I'll share the link with you. somebody from my YouTube team would share the link with you. Make sure you read the article and we can do a little bit of discussion about that in the next class as well. So it's like a homework that I'll be giving you. Okay. So let's move on with the article that I have today on philosophy. Now, see, when we talk about philosophy, there are many philosophers we talk about. There are many philosophical ideas that we refer to. And there is one specific philosophical cult that we usually mention when we talk about philosophy, and that is Stoicism. So we will be talking about this in today's class. If you're reading Stoicism for life hacks, you're missing the point. Now, what are life hacks? Usually you see these self-help books, many YouTube videos where people say, this is how you excel in life, this is how you remain happy. These are life hacks where you are able, these life hacks make you understand how to deal with life and how to stay happy. There are many religious practices, there are non-religious practices as well that teach you life hacks. And Instagram and social media is full of teaching you, and YouTube specifically, is full of teaching you life hacks. Stoicism also partially teaches us life hacks. But the author thinks we are actually missing the point by using Stoicism for life hacks. How? Read the page, send me a done, and then we're going to be discussing it. Absolutely, Bhuvanesh. Absolutely. Yes, Prads. It will be there in the comment section, in the chat box. Now, okay. Now, before I move ahead, let me tell you what Stoicism is. Yes, let me tell you that. Thank you, Dia, for asking that. So, can anyone tell me what exactly is Stoicism? If you've read about philosophy, what do you think is Stoicism? Who's going to tell me that? Dia has a question which we need to understand before we start delving deep into the article. Anyone? Do you know what is the basic philosophy of Stoicism? Okay, I'll tell you. So, there were many people who contributed to the ideology of Stoicism, okay? Marcus being one of them. And Stoicism, the gist of Stoicism says that if you wish to be happy inside, if you wish to be content with what you have, you need to detach yourself. And you need to know detachment in terms of, so how badly do I feel about something? If somebody says bad to me, how badly do I feel about that is my own perspective. That's my own emotion. So how much attached I am to that specific thing. It is dependent on that, how badly I feel about it. So one, can be detached. Two, I can possibly put less weight on things around me so that the suffering that I have is minimal. The sadness that I feel is minimal. So to attain the utmost happiness, you need not to be depending upon the surrounding that you have. Lesser dependent on that and more of yourself. Yes, Bhuvanesh, that exactly is what it is. It's a way of dealing with situations, how you deal with situations. And see, it sounds very justified that Stoicism with this ideology can actually teach you life hacks, attaining utmost happiness. But how do we do that? And he says, no, you're getting it wrong, my kids. Stoicism for life hacks, you're missing the point. So we need to understand, why does he say we're missing the point? Is the core of Stoicism clear to everyone? Our emotions being destructive, our emotions suppressing us, we need to know how to deal with them. Nobody else is responsible for my happiness, I myself am. Is everything clear about Stoicism, everyone? I hope it is. Go ahead, read the page, send me done once you're done reading that. Okay, I hope it's done. Now, see, when you read an article about philosophy, there are two words that you will very frequently see. One is virtue, and the other is vice. And if you understand these two terms, understanding a philosophical article becomes very easy. Now, what is virtue and what is vice? Virtue is how I behave in a manner that's morally correct. Morality is what virtue teaches us. Whereas vice is something that's evil. I'll write this down here. Morality, I do things that are morally correct. And then there's vice, that's bad intention, immoral things, the negative things, the evil things that stops people from pursuing the virtuous actions. So these are two words which you will very frequently come across. Yeah, pretty old Suraj, yes. While you read about any philosophical article, many times you'll see that. Now, obviously, this page doesn't have a lot of it has a lot of information. It's more like an introductory part to what is going to follow. And since he's already made a point that you are missing out the point if you're following Stoicism for life hacks, he's describing it in the beginning. He says there are podcasts and there are news and there are online crash courses on teaching Stoicism for life hacks. And then he goes back to the history of Stoicism, what that is, who founded that, who took it forward. So till this line, I think there's nothing really important. Okay? Basically, data, premise. He says Stoicism stresses ethics, virtue, obviously, because virtue is morality and ethics is something that relates to morality. You have to do something that's right, morally, ethically. That's what Stoicism teaches. And the attainment of that elusive good life. What do you think is elusive here? What do you think does that mean? Elusive. Attainment. Stoicism teaches you how to attain that elusive good life. What do you think that means? I think there's a big lag today. Again. I'm waiting for your answers. What do you think is elusive? Absolutely, Bhuvanesh. Absolutely. It's something that's difficult to find. So everyone's running after finding a good life, but is everybody able to get the happiness out of that apparent good life that you have around you? Probably not. So the idea of a good life is elusive for everyone. It's hard to achieve. Okay? That is what it literally means. It's hard to achieve. And thus, Stoicism teaches you how you have to achieve that difficult to achieve good life that everybody aims for. That's the gist. Okay? Now, it obviously relates to how to live happily. It should be a perfect ideology for getting your life hacks. That is Stoicism. But why does the author say you're missing the point by learning life hacks through Stoicism? We still don't have the author's argument here. Let's move to the next page. Let's see if he makes an argument here. Read the page, send me a done. Yes, Anuj, you can call it something that's almost unreal. Yes, Prats. Sai, I see you after a long time. Done? Did you get the line that I've highlighted in the second paragraph? Did you get the highlighted line in the second paragraph? Okay, let's talk about the first paragraph, okay? And we'll gradually. So, looks like the author has started to make his claim now. Because as I had taught you while you're reading an extract, if there are contradictions, there's a major point coming in. And you have to pay attention to what's written after these contradictory conjunctions, okay? So he says everyone follows it. It's there everywhere on social media and podcasts and in news channels. That Stoicism and quotes from Stoicism of how you have to live your life, teaching you life hacks. But Stoicism is not so much a philosophy as a collection of life hacks for overcoming anxiety. So he says people maybe are mistaken with the idea of Stoicism. He says it teaches you meditations for curbing anger, exercise for finding stillness and calm, not through exercising like yoga or meditating like Om, chanting Om. No, that's not the way how Stoicism teaches you meditation or finding your calm. It teaches you how to find calm within yourself through a discourse. So a discourse is more like a discussion, okay? It's an animated discussion, more like a group discussion that happens. He teaches a probably long theory. And that's what philosophy is. It's completely logic-based theory. So he says Stoicism discusses inner peace, inner calmness through a discourse that chastens a mind. What does chasten mean here? Yeah, that's why I've highlighted. I'll make you understand the second paragraph, okay? What do you think does chasten mean? A discourse that chastens a mind. Anyone? What does chasten mean? To break, okay? That breaks the mind, okay? Others? What's wrong with my pen? Yeah. Others? Okay, I'll tell you. So chasten is basically a subdued, quieter, calmer, a little bit passive. Okay? Rebuke or force to believe. So basically, perhaps when I rebuke something, the idea is to make that person realize their mistakes. Change of thought, Anuj, yes. Okay? And thus, that rebuking, the idea is to make the person realize their mistakes and make them calmer, not aggressive. Okay? So it's the change of thought. And that is how it chastens our mind by telling us a discourse. An example of the discourse Stoicism would tell us is that the pain isn't due to the thing itself. So for example, if somebody, the same example I'll use, which I had used to explain Stoicism. If somebody criticizes me, I might be hurt. But then it is how much value I give to the words, how much value I give to the person. That will determine how much I am hurt with it. The pain is not because of the thing itself. It is because of the value that I give to it. And if the value is negligible, the pain becomes negligible, right? So that's the quotation Marcus had said. It's your estimate of it. And then the focus narrows to that self, me, isolated detachment of social structures that support me or bring me down. So social structure, those people criticizing me might bring me down or might support me, but I might be indifferent if I don't give them any value, if I'm detached. So that's the idea Stoicism promotes. Now, let's understand the second paragraph, which is a little tricky. I'll first explain a couple of words here and then I'll ask you to read the paragraph again and then you have to tell me if you got the meaning of this paragraph or not. Okay. One is hyperbole. When you read specifically articles on literature, you will get a lot of figures of speech coming in. Some figures of speech you've already done in your school. Possibly hyperbole, exaggeration, onomatopoeia, personification, alliteration. These might have been touched upon in your school. Epigram is also a figure of speech, by the way. Epigram, lightities, these are a few figure of speech your school teachers might not have touched upon, but I'll expect you to do a little bit of homework. After the class ends, find out. You can just take out Ren and Martin, or Google Renan Martin's PDF, you'll find a list of figure of speech. If you do that, those figure of speech, that should be enough for you to understand any article that talks about literature or something of this sort as well. Now, let me explain what is hyperbole and what is an epigram. Hyperbole is easy. Yes, that's exaggeration, overthinking. And an epigram is basically a subtle way of, it's like a pun, a subtle way of indirectly hinting on to something else. So a very common example that I had read somewhere is, I can resist everything but temptation. It's a very, very common example. Do you understand the meaning of the sentence? I can resist everything but temptation. What does that mean? It says, the actual meaning is, I can't resist anything at all. I'll explain this in Hindi and English both, okay? Though I'll stick to English being the language, but I'll still explain this in Hindi so that people who don't understand the meaning of the sentence, they get it. So in English, it says, I can resist everything around me, but if it is temptation, I cannot resist it. And temptation is something that is there in everything. So ultimately, what does it mean? You cannot resist anything at all. In Hindi, it says, मैं सब कुछ avoid कर सकता हूँ, but लालच avoid नहीं कर सकता. तो भाई लालच तो तुम्हें सब चीजों में मिल जाएगा. You'll get it everywhere, right? So you can't resist anything at all in the end. That is what it means. So it's a very witty way. Epigram is a witty way to indirectly state something. Now read the sentence again. Hyperbole is exaggeration. Epigram is like a witty statement given. Let's now read the sentence again and tell me if you've got it. This may be one of the strands of Stoicism. One strand of Stoicism, like detaching yourself. But is that all about Stoicism? Possibly not. Stoicism is much, much more than life hacks. And possibly that's why the author says you're missing the point. You aren't getting Stoicism. You're using it for life hacks, but that's only one strand of Stoicism. Stoicism is way deeper than what you think it is. This strand of Stoicism, of detachment and restricting your feelings so that you don't feel bad, it is a hyperbolized strand in the much quoted epigrams of the Greek Stoic, and then he names a person. What does it mean? He says these quotations that you see on the internet, on Instagram, and there's a Stoic quote anywhere. This is basically an exaggerated quote written in a witty manner. Was it said by any of the Stoic promoters? Possibly yes. But is that what Stoicism means completely? Certainly no. But it is by no means the whole of Stoicism. You are getting on the wrong train. Okay, it's only a percent. Yes, Bhuvanesh. Saying it in a fancy way, Prads. Yes. Now did you get the first sentence? Now one lesson to learn. Your homework. Renan Martin, list of figure of speech. Specifically the difficult ones. Epigram, lightities, a few. Yes. I have to recall that. It's just stuck in my head. Okay, so a climax, anti-climax. Yes, I was thinking of climax. So, me-focused view misses ancient Stoicism. He says you are discussing about a point of view that focuses on me. It's a strand of Stoicism. But then it only misses out on the crux of Stoicism's emphasis on our flourishing as social selves, connected locally and globally. Here, we are focusing on isolation to achieve that elusive good life. But is that what Stoicism focuses on? He says no. He says Stoicism focuses on your existence as a social being. You are connected locally and globally. Locally, here does not mean people around you, and globally does not mean people in America or Canada. Locally is yourself. Globally is everything around. You need to be connected and not be detached. And the antithesis, yes. Interrogation, yes. Okay, no, otherwise my internet connection is perfect. There's no lag here. All right, so let's move on. I hope now you see the author's claim why people are missing out on the train. They're getting the wrong point altogether when they're promoting Stoicism for life hacks. Let's move on. Read this page and send me done. Done? See, what did I tell you? If you've been regular with my classes, I had once explained that if you have philosophical theories, they'll be backed up. They'll always be backed up with some example. Okay, because these examples make things even clear for us. Understanding is very clear for us through the examples. So this example that you have here is, so there's a war, and the detritus is basically the debris, the remains of a war. Okay, so there's a battlefield, and then you see the remains, uh, and you see a hand lying here and a head lying there. What is it? It's nothing. After you detach these parts from your body, is it even a body? It isn't. And thus, a phrase says, at home in the world. Can you be at home if you relied completely on yourself? You can't be. You need your reliance with other people. So, complete isolation. Thank you, Bhuvanesh. Okay. Thank you. So, your complete isolation is something that doesn't really help you. And that's why he says you are missing out on the point of Stoicism. Stoicism doesn't really teach you complete self-reliance. You have to be a social animal here. Okay. And then there's another word, grit. What does that mean? Yeah. What does grit mean? Grit or grit is defined. Your self-interest or your grit is defined. It's certainly something positive, right? Disha, a catchphrase is something that's very popular. You know, when you Google Stoic quotes, you'll certainly come across this quote. Something that's used very frequently. It's very catchy. You can memorize it like that. Grit is your determination. Determination. Okay? That's your grit. All right, let's move on. Okay, by this time, are you guys able to understand why is the author claiming that we are missing the point by using Stoicism for life hacks? Are you able to understand this point here? Are you able to get it, everyone? I hope you are, okay? Let's move on because your messages are reaching me late. Here, read the page. Done? So now we know the author here is certainly a master of Stoicism, and that's why he makes the claim that people don't get Stoicism at all. And when we look at the self-help books that quote Stoicism, they promote detachment. And they say, okay, if somebody says something bad to you, you don't pay heed to that. You don't pay value to that. What are you doing here? You are actually being disconnected from the things around you. And Stoicism doesn't focus on that. Stoicism is based on a promise that I'm connected globally, everything around me, and my potential of contributing to the common good. Contributing to the common good is betterment of everyone. If I have self-interest, I am not going to pay heed to your criticism. I am blind to it. I will be detached from the world. It's basically about me, and it's basically about my self-interest. And when it is about me and my self-interest, am I even following ethics at all? I am not following ethics. Whereas if you look at the intro of Stoicism, it said Stoicism certainly focused on ethics and virtue. Where are your virtues? Where are your ethics? If you are so self-concerned that you're not paying attention to anything or anybody who says or does bad to you, you are completely detached. You are doing something that's unethical because you are doing something for your self-interest. And that's why he says, so you just ignore them, Anuj. But then, are you being selfish here when you're ignoring them? You are. Possibly you did something absolutely wrong which you had to rectify, and you were unable to do it because you were too self-concerned. Where are your ethics? Are you doing something for common good here? You aren't. And that's why people don't understand Stoicism at all, according to the author. Let's come to this. Animate students? I mean, are they animated creatures? Are these cartoon creatures? What is it referring to? These ideas of Stoicism animate students. What does animation here mean? Yes, Prats. So, what is the animation here? I will wait for your answers. That's what my question is. What does that mean, Bhuvanesh? Animate students. What does that mean? Are they animated here? Certainly not. Not every time, but whenever we needed this process. Yes, Anuj. Animate students, others? To create a picture of it? Yes. When you animate something, you give life to it. Do you? Yeah, it's a simple picture, but when you animate it, it's full of life. That's what animation does. And when it is full of life, you are interested in it. So what animates students, that is to make them more inclined towards Stoicism, to make them more interested, being full of life. Yeah, that is what animation here is. Okay, making alive, full of life. That is what make these students happy about Stoicism. Okay, let's move on. I hope this page is clear. Now, yeah, this one. Read this. Yes, Disha. Present an idea or an image is absolutely correct. Because I'm not saying anything. Sound because I'm not saying anything. I was just waiting for you to read this. Kith and kin is a very, very popular phrase. I'm sure you must have heard that. Kith and kin is your family and your friends, people who surround you. Okay. And this explanation is a very simple one. It's a continuation of the explanation we read from Marcus Aurelius of how you are connected locally and globally. Okay. So I hope you get this entire scenario of how you need to be connected to everyone, and detachment is something that doesn't work. Okay. Now here, yeah. So let's read this last paragraph. He focuses on how these self-help books are not working because uh, Stoicism focuses on a different thing. It teaches you how you can overcome the personal bias, because everyone will have some personal bias or the other, even if they don't know it that they have it. It subconsciously is there in their mind. So how you overcome these personal biases, once you overcome this, that's when you do good to the society. You contribute to the betterment of the society. The Stoics offer techniques for slowing down impulsive thinking. Impulsive thinking is, okay, you say something bad to me, I instantly, without a thought, answer to you. I either run away or I answer back. I do something. Okay. That is impulsive thinking. So Stoicism says no detachment, but pause and don't answer or don't react impulsively. Because once you react impulsively, it clouds your judgment. Your judgment will be either narrow or will be away from ethics and virtue. And this will be full of vice. So the entire philosophical theory focuses on moving away from vice, going towards virtue. And if your judgment is clouded, you'll be nearer this and farther from this. Okay. I think the next page isn't really important because, okay, just a minute. Okay, so he says outside to inside. I'll explain this line. Then shrink the space between the circles. Okay. So these are the circles that he drew. There's spacing between each circle. Gradually, when you reduce the spaces between each circle and you move from outside to inside, what happens? Everything narrows down to one circle, and this is you. This is what this diagram focuses on. So from those outside to inside, basically, I am you, you are me, aham brahmasmi. That is what it means. So your existence is dependent on others, but not through detachment. You finding yourself in their place, they finding themselves in your place. There's no gap between us, our thought and their thought. Reducing it from outer circle to inner circle. That's how you move inside. And that's how you attain that ultimate salvation that Stoicism focuses on. Okay? Exactly. Absolutely, Prats. Okay. So I don't think the next page is really important. It basically again and again and again justifies the fact what Stoicism focuses on and how is it different from the usage of Stoicism for self-help. I've just highlighted a couple of words, so we're going to read those words. So he says, we can often insert attention and will and monitor impulsive impressions. Your impulsive reaction, a reaction that's thoughtless, we have to reduce that. And how do we reduce it? You nip it in the bud. You nip something in the bud is you suppress it or you control it even before it starts to outgrow. Like a bud just comes out before it becomes a flower. If you pluck it off, there's no flower then. That's what nipping the impulsive impression in the bud means here. I will not read this paragraph. It's a very easy one, a continuation of the explanation. We'll read this one. So ultimately, this is a life hack, not just for me and my impulse control, but also for us thinking about how to build a community so that fear and rage don't rip us apart. This entire fear, anger in the society, for example, mob lynching, for example, killing each other, for any of the religious practices, probably all of this is a result of impulsive impressions. And when you nip the impulsive reaction and impression in the bud, it actually is a life hack that will work for you and I for the betterment of the society, so that fear and rage doesn't make the society a dystopian place to live in. Did you get this, everyone? Did you get it? Is it a difficult article? I think it is for some of you, because it's too much of thought that you have to put in here. But then something of this sort can certainly come in the examination, so we can't skip it. We have to solve these RCs. You're aiming for 100 percentile, right? You can't leave an entire RC and achieve that. So if something like this comes, come back and say a thank you to me. Okay? So back to it. I hope you understand how controlling your impulsiveness will lead us to the betterment of this society, making it a utopian one. All right, let's move on to the last paragraph. Read the page. But before this, did you hit the like button? If you haven't done that yet, please do that. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you're watching the recorded video later on, make sure you comment under my video if you've benefited through the video. Read the last paragraph, read the conclusion, and send me a done. It is very interesting, yes. Done? So ultimately, he puts a full stop to his entire comparison between the ancient Stoic philosophy and the modern version of considering it as a self-help tool. And he says, you need to read more. These modern newsletters, Stoic daily newsletters and bestseller lists, you need to read more. Why don't you read something of this sort? That will give you more insight on what actually the ancient Stoicism philosophy means. Okay? And then the last paragraph, very nicely written. He says, he quotes a Stoic philosophy, says, let us cultivate our humanity. So betterment of humanity, let us do that. That is the enduring Stoic promise, not detachment, not self-interest, not unethical things, but betterment of humanity that empowers us in our common humanity, that everybody's good happens. That is what Stoicism focuses on. It is not self-help, but group help. So when you're focusing on self-help, I have to be the happiest. My life has to be happiest. That's not what Stoicism is. Stoicism is group help. Everybody has to be the happiest. You have to focus on that. If the Stoics are worth reading, it is because they constantly exhort us. Exhort here is urging. So Stoics constantly urge us to rise our potential through reason, cooperation and selflessness, not selfishness, not detachment. And obviously, if it is philosophy, we'll have a reason. So he says, Stoicism urges us to find reason, to be cooperative and to be selfless instead of being detached and looking at your self-interest and finding your own elusive good life. So I hope you loved reading this article, everyone. Yeah, the last line summarizes it beautifully. And I will not ask you to write down a summary because I think this is what the summary is. It's like a conclusion. So let me talk a little about this one. Let me take this opportunity. When we are supposed to find summary, not in the paragraph summary questions. That's a different ball game altogether. But with the RCs, when you're supposed to find the main idea, theme, gist, summary, usually you'll find your answers in the first and the last paragraph. So when you're rushing and you don't have a lot of time towards the end, I think this trick, apart from reading a passage carefully, that's the best thing you could do ever to find the correct answer. But when you're in a rush, please focus a lot on the first and the last paragraphs. Usually, good roughly 60-70% of the times, you'll find your main idea as introduction in the first paragraph and as a conclusion in the last paragraph. Link them and see if this is what was visible throughout the passage. If that was visible, you've voila, found your main idea. So this is your main idea. Now your homework. Your homework is, lovely morning read. I'm glad. Now you'll have a good weekend, but a few things. Ankit, can you please share the link in the chat box? The link that I sent you about the article that these kids are supposed to read? Exactly, Dia, it does. Now your homework is one, you have to comment under my video with the tone of the author here. Okay, and I'm sorry, Prads and Dia, I'll make sure that I check it today or tomorrow, but before the next class, I'll do that for sure. So you have to comment under my video with the tone of the author, okay? And somebody from my video team, so this is your homework, in the comment section, not in the chat box. And somebody from the video team will post the link to the article that I have sent them. Wait for a second. Till the time, do me this little favor, like the session, comment under my video, share the session with as many people as you can, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. Guys, why don't you focus doing this? Please do that. You know, the cooperation and the betterment of the society, Stoicism focuses on, not self-interest that you've been gained. Share it with so many people. Please do that. That's going to be betterment for us. Okay. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, and download our app. Please download our app on Google Play. Okay. Rational is logical. Now, I don't think he has posted it. Let me post it. I'm sending it, okay? Give me a second. I'm posting the link here in the chat box. Just a minute. Posting it right here. Here you go. Do you see the link? The link is also available under my video in the description box. I've posted in the chat box and under my video, read this article and then the link is there under my video in the chat, in the description box. So find it from either of the places. Yes, that's the article, Bhuvanesh. Okay. So make sure you read that. We'll have a light discussion about this article in the next class and I'll bring another article for you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a very good weekend. Work really hard. Read a lot. God bless all of you. I'll post it again. See, I've posted it again. Find that, everyone. Okay. Bye, everyone.